What's going on, YouTube? I am HotMessNessMua, otherwise known as Vanessa, and today we're doing a quick demo and I'm gonna do kind of a quick review on this palette. I've used it 3 times. I feel like I have a grasp for this. This demo, if you want to see this demo, that will be toward the end. I will leave timestamps down below with direct swatches if you want to see them and when the demo starts. For now, we're going to talk about this palette. This palette is kind of a trip. It is an interesting palette because you've got a cool tone 3 right here, and this is kind of cool tone, and these are kind of neutral, and these are kind of warm. And I did this look because I wanted to show that you could blend some cool and warm together, you know, and get it sultry. This palette is a sultry palette to me, even though you've got like Sweet Talk palette vibes going on here. This could be a fun complementary palette. I was automatically thinking something like these two would be great together if you really wanted to pull the cool tone wave. You could do any of these and even some of the pops of color on the lid. That's what I was thinking. That's why I have this out, because originally that's what I was gonna do. Just get yourself a drink there, buddy. The Shimmer Shadows are classic Juvia's plays. They're those bam in your face colors. Oh, that one's kind of being a turd. These are bam in your face kind of colors. Some of them are softer than I'm used to from Juvia's plays. Like this little pinky rose kind of shade, you kind of have to dig in there to get what it usually does. They're like really like dimethicone wet shimmers. If you've never used Juvia's plays, that's a good like exploratory explanation. You'd figure that I didn't know how to talk to humans these days, which I feel like I don't, but still beautiful. Let's show you directly on the hand. You're still getting that beautiful bam from the shimmers. Now the mattes. How do I explain the mattes? You'll see in the demo, they build fine. They pack on fine. But they are not the wow, bam, you know, like I'm used to with Juvia's Place. Usually you get into a Juvia's Place palette, especially the mattes, and you're like, whoa, color and hello, blend. These ones were like, you blend nice, but I gotta kind of dig back into you. This I had to grab quite a few times to get a lot of pigment out of it. This one, same thing. But because it's like that, you compare the cool with the warm. Does that make sense? Because these are lighter, you can blend them into other things that you wouldn't necessarily do. So I like this palette because it takes me places I wouldn't normally go. I wouldn't normally put gray and pink and, you know, a dark brown and a silver all together. So this palette brings me out of a comfort zone while still being neutral. You could totally just go with the grays, or you could go with the pinks and the browns, but this is not what I expected from Juvia's Place. The mattes in here kind of remind me of the Warrior 2 mattes. They're just not as in your face. They're nice, they work, they get the job done, but this is not my favorite Juvia's Place palette. But I do enjoy working with it. So to me, if you are somebody that does not like any cool colors, this is not a palette for you. If you already have a bunch of colors like this may not be a palette for you. If you are intrigued by the color story in here and you could see some things, you might enjoy this. Juvia's Place price point is amazing. It's $20 and they're still good quality shadows. And then you can use a coupon code. I think I spent 18, and she oftentimes has big sales on her site where you get 30% off, 40% off. So if you're just slightly intrigued by this palette, I'd say wait for a sale. But if you are like, hey, that's an interesting color story, I want to try that out, I'm not disappointed in it. It's not what I expected. And in some good and some maybe not as good ways. Like I said, this gray shade packs a punch on the swatch, but as you blend it, it becomes much lighter. Therefore, it's very blendable into the brownie shades. But if you were going for a full smoky gray, you'd have to pull something else. You'd have to pull a black or a darker gray from another palette. So I think I'm going to reiterate this again. I think this is a good complementary palette if you don't want to create looks like this. You could pull this with other palettes. I think this would be great with the Magic palette. Some of these shades up here.
Look at me.
I see. Oh, that's cute. I like that. That's nice. So I hope that makes sense when I'm trying to explain a little bit more about this palette. Again, I like it. I'm not disappointed that I bought it, but it's definitely not my favorite of all time Juvia's Place palettes. I tend to prefer Juvia's Place color, but these colors brought me into a different place. And because of that, I do appreciate this palette. Again, it may not be for everybody. If you like monochromatic looks, you might enjoy this palette. You could go boom, 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 or boom, boom, boom. You could go monochrome here, monochromatic here and here. So see, if every shade, besides this one really, has another shade or a shimmer that it kind of matches up with. So if you were really into that, you could wash this all in the crease and pop one of these on the lid, and same thing here and here, any of these, and this one could just be a blender. But this one, it's just kind of a crazy weird shade. It looks gray and it blends out to a brown. The one thing that I found, I don't know if I would say disappointing or not about this palette, because Juvia's Place are really made for people, I'm not saying they're made for people of color, but it's really one of the first brands that we've seen kind of mainstream that was like, I'm making this for people that have dark skin so they can use it. I don't know if you're gonna be able to use these ones a whole heck of a lot if you're very dark. So you might be able to use these, but so I hope that the brand doesn't get too far away from that because of saturation, and now that they're very popular, I hope that they stick with things like the Tribe palette. That was a fantastic palette. Again, I'm not bummed out that I got this. I think it's cool, it's fun. But if you have no interest in colors like this, you don't need this palette. So if you're interested in seeing the swatches, I'm gonna pop them on right over here. So if you want to see the demo that I created of this look using these shades, that's just going to be right over here. Who's ready for a James Charles Tati video? No, not here. Not today. Trusty Blink Primer. If you guys actually care about the products that I use, I'll try to get better about linking them down below. But I have yet to earn any money off of those links, so it's more for you guys than for me. I heard there's potential, but so we're gonna blend the primer in. So the Nubian 3 Coral palette is kind of a trip because it's cool tones and the corals are more warm. So far everything that I've created turns out being very soft and slightly smoky, slightly, ever so slightly. So let's just throw this on. All right, so I'm gonna take the Blender Pro and I'm gonna take the shade that has no name, the light pinky kind of shade, and I am going to start by placing that here. I am not blending yet, I'm pouncing. Think of this as like a beauty blender, like a pounce, because I don't want to lose the pink, and hopefully you'll see where I'm going with this. Pouncing, not blending, not really. These are not quite like the Bam in your face Juvia's Place pigment that I love. I feel like these could be considered more beginner friendly. Not that Juvia's Place wasn't beginner friendly, but these are much softer. And I think that Juvia's Place is such an awesome brand with their crazy pigment because it works on, it's a brand that was created by a person of color and will work on people with melanin in their skin, which is super cool for me because that gives me really, really pigmented eyeshadow, right? Not that this doesn't have pigments on it, but it's definitely not that punch that I've come to love from Juvia's. So I am just, yes, that's my stomach. It is digesting. So I am just puffing this on like so. I'm gonna clean off my brush and just kind of blend this little edge a little bit. Now I'm gonna take my little worker 3. I'm using still mostly the Sonia G brushes. Why? Because I love them. And I'm taking the more true to coral color. And I'm gonna go slightly above my crease. And again, it's color. These are more neutral colors, so you could blend them, but I want to get that packed punch. And this is part of experience in using this palette because I realized that I could dig in and go and dig in and go. And so being that I want this to be nice, quick, and easy, I'm just packing on while wiggling the brush to diffuse. So see, I've got the little bit of pink and I'm adding the coral here. Trying to go slightly above my crease because I do have, you know, my little hood there, and that's where I plan on putting another shade. Slightly packing. It's not like a dense pack, it's like a placement with a push. I still think that these shadows are good quality because look, I can do this and it's not like a harsh line or anything crazy. They really just kind of blend themselves, if you will. All right, so we've got all of this going on. Now I'm gonna go back with that original little blender and kind of fuse the two so I don't have a crazy line going on. I'm gonna take my little Worker Pro from Sonia G and I'm gonna grab the gray shade. And this, I can get crazy with it. I can pack quite a lot on because it's not a crazy pigmented color. I find that this shade, although it looks gray in the pan, once I get it on my lids, it's like a brown gray. Which actually, I understand, it makes it less intimidating. You know, when you think of not wanting to look like you have a black eye when you're dealing with like gray smokies, it gives a very romantic vibe. That's what I feel like every time I use this gray. If they had gone another shade of gray, it could be very harsh. It'd just be a different palette altogether. Then it wouldn't make sense with these corals, but I feel like, again, this kind of a gray shade, because it leans brown when you start to kind of blend it out, makes it almost like a romantic, I think of like a romantic garden with this. I don't know why. It's just the vibes that I get when I'm working with this palette. So I'm keeping this low below the other shades that I did, but I can go back and forth into this palette quite a few times to build this up because it is not a I don't want to say it's not pigmented. It is a pigmented color. It is. It's just, it diffuses. It's a light pigmented color. It's very hard to explain. I hope you can see it while I'm working with it, what I'm trying to articulate. That it's not a bam in your face gray, it's like a brown gray, and therefore it can kind of go with these shades. But eventually a lot of the looks I feel will start to look the same if you're using the gray or whatnot. I'm gonna go back in and grab a little bit more of this coral one and place it just above that gray. So I keep that vibe, and this is the Sonia G Builder Pro. Just a little bit right here, directly above what I did before with the gray. So that way I'm keeping my little watermelon moment right here. And I'm gonna go back in with my little blender and just kind of tap around. I'm gonna go back in with the pink. You can really like load it up and it's not like too crazy. And edge, isn't edge a dirty word? I'm gonna edge right here. I think it's a dirty word. You could just gray it out and then shimmer on the lid, but I think we're gonna do this cool, warm kind of moment. I'm gonna take the dark brown right here on my builder and just kind of work out here and up. So again, I'm taking the brown, I'm going lash line to connect to my outer V and an extended outer V into the gray. I think this is the kind of palette that if you just stuck to a couple shades, just kept it with just a couple shades, you could have a lot of fun with this. I also think this would be a great companion palette to any cool tone palette. I was thinking the taupe one from Dose of Colors would be fun to play with this one. And then where I get a little messy, I'll just blend it out. And I'm gonna go in and do another layer and just trying to be precise. Put the brush exactly where I want the color, and then I can go back in and clean it up. And just kind of puffing it together, not mixing too much together because you don't want it to get too crazy, and just boom, boom, boom here. I don't know what I want to do with the lower lash line. What do I want to do? I feel like it should be kind of simple because it's kind of a lot happening. I'm gonna take this stony looking gray shade, and I already know I can take quite a bit of it. And see, it just cools down right here. It doesn't have a lot of impact, but then I'm getting a little bit of that grayish, smoky kind of, it's just very subtle. It is not a showstopper kind of shade to me, but I do find the shade interesting. I can't put my finger on it because it's like a gray brown. So see, I've got that cool tone ever so slightly under here, and I'm just kind of accentuating the eye bags. I'm just rolling with them. I'm gonna make them work for me today. And then I'm gonna take this little dumb brush. What is this, a 213? And I'm gonna hug it right here where my eye bag connects. We're just gonna emphasize what we got here. I'm gonna emphasize the eye bag. I'm not going all the way over because I've noticed that, you know, it's closing off my little eye space. And then I'm gonna clean it off. I'm gonna take the brown and I'm gonna connect right here. Wiggle it just a little bit. All right, so I think that this look would be kind of badass to mix like a white and this stony shade and do it all over the lid, like very editorial, kind of strange. But I'm not gonna do that right now. I'm gonna take this brown shade and I'm gonna put her right where I had the brown over here. So then I'm gonna take this more, you know, charcoal-y looking one where this is like metallic silver. And I'm gonna put her here. Now for the shimmery one, so that way I don't have silver shimmer all over, I'm going to foil it. I'm gonna try to wipe off the brush and just blend a little of the lighter silvers here and a little bit of the blue here. And I like it. I think it's fun and kind of funky. This is what I've come up with. It's cool and warm and smoky and kind of strange. And I like it. I think it's an interesting combo. I mean, of course, you don't have to mix all the cools and warms. You could stick with certain things, but I think the possibilities for this palette become more interesting because of the color choices. So I am going to pop on liner and lashes and come back and probably talk some more. I don't feel like I don't know how to do this anymore. I'll be right back. It is completed. I did the white liner from ColourPop on the, you know, inner rim waterline. And then this is a ColourPop Ultra Satin little mini. It's dopey. Let's try that. I think they're kind of crooked and I kind of don't care. So this is the finished look using the Nubian 3 Coral palette. It is interesting and it is fun. I like it. So I hope you enjoyed this little demo. Here's the eyeballs. I didn't put any liner on the top because I don't care that much. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Yeah. As always, thank you so much for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next video. Mwah. Bye. Don't forget, you can subscribe down here, and for more videos, click over here. Possibly there. There's places to click. Click them. Click them all.